Hopefully.
Hello, computer. Are you back, computer? There we go.
Computer fall over.
So next up.
Yep.
Yes, this.
Yep.
Yes. Well, this will be a fun one to talk about, won't it?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I'm going to take off this hat now. It's starting to get very itchy.
Actually, you know what?
This is what happens when you pay for only the highest quality sad hats. You've seen the bags you knew where I bought all this stuff.
Oh, where?
Poundland.
Yes, Poundland.
Yeah, it's about 20 quid in Poundland.
Good shit.
Yep.
So, okay, right. This is all just about some tweets that came out from Stylosa, who is Overwatch. He covers Overwatch, and certainly, I mean, you might think, there's less patches, there's less going on in World of Warcraft. How are we going to get videos? Pour one out for the Overwatch people. Oh, they haven't had much. So, yeah, he said, I produced content on Overwatch for 5 to 6 years. Fuck me, lol. For the first time, they've started to speak to us without all the bullshit PR doublespeak. And let me tell you, Blizzard has been abysmal in dealing with its creators for years. Fun story time. Alright. I flew to Irvine for Echo's launch from the UK, only to be told I had no interview slot with Jeff. Can you believe that? So Jeff pulled me into a conference room and we just went for it. PR went fucking nuts. So remember the whole thing with Mike and Ian?
Yeah.
Where for the longest time, to some people it felt like, oh, Ian is literally terrified of Mike. That wasn't the case. Ian just had absolutely no agency over who his interviews with.
Yep.
And eventually they're able to make it happen, right? And it was one of those things you could have assumed that's what, here maybe somebody could have assumed if him and Jeff weren't able to just go rogue and do their interview anyway. And that's what it's like. Yeah, PR are fucking tight when it comes to Blizz. I have a lot of thoughts about AAA PR. But anyway, so that's just the thing of obviously having one of your biggest creators in Stylosa talking to your game director makes sense. But, PR went crazy at this. Had the privilege of seeing how audio and sound effects are added to Overwatch. PR busted into the room, demanded to see our cameras, as if we'd record in secure areas. They treated us like shit. That's a funny one, actually. I was in the little Blizzard theater, and this was all stuff that was confidential. We'd signed an NDA before we went there. We signed an NDA when we got there, going through the building. It was all very NDA'd up. And a bunch of people actually did just point their cameras at Ian's slides while Ian was giving this presentation for Battle for Azeroth stuff. And it's like, hello? It's been made very clear to us that this is not the thing to do. And they sort of did it anyway, which was really a bit strange. Now, if this is a more, private tour, then I would have expected, PR to have dealt with that beforehand and then not being, a real big dickhead about it.
Yes.
It depends. There's, of course, we all remember the people attribute the leak to Pyro. It was just that Pyro very publicly thought about whether he should leak it or not. But it was the stuff about the jailer's original form, which I think was somebody went a little bit rogue at a Blizzard tour and managed to get a photo of it or something. Which is a bit weird, which, you could infer from that quite a few things about Zoval originally.
Yes, certainly.
So the next one then, from him. I was prevented from recording Ash content at BlizzCon 2018, not sure why. But if I dressed up as Punch Kid and appeared on stage to bail out the shit giant loot box... some stupid fucking leak costume never arrived, they'd let me. So that's just like what wanted to do, how PR thought to utilize.
Yes.
I wanted to speak with Jeff about Roll Queue, but was constantly denied, forcing me to email Jeff directly, and he got the ball moving. The next morning, I'm roped into a large email chain with various PR telling me not to cut them out again. Yeah, I had a similar thing to that happen. So basically once I felt that Blizzard was directly fucking me around in a way that would cause material harm to, ultimately to our bottom line, which is important because we got people working here, mouths to feed. We've got to know this shit.
Absolutely.
Now this is basically a situation where Blizzard PR EU, who as people have always been nice to work with, but ultimately they were always completely fucking toothless because it was very clear that they were treated as second-class citizens by America. Probably not the fault of America. probably just widespread corporate dysfunction.
Yeah.
And so there's some, with some like creator summit or something that I get the invite to, and I'm like, okay, well, sure, I'll go to this, but you know, I'm trying to find out what's actually there. You know, what is the nature of the thing? Why would I be going here? Could you please explain to me? You know, don't tell me what it is, but help me work with you as a partner so that I can plan things. Because ultimately, like if I go to America, so I've got to prepare for going to America. And that is obviously going to cost a whole bunch of time. Obviously, time is money. It's also going to cost some money getting ready too.
Yep.
You know, once I get there, if I'm buying things, it's going to be a part of it, right? You know, there's going to be some money there. You know, just all of these things, right? I want to work all that out. And then like, you know, working out, well, just like spending a few days away is at humongous cost, especially because then, you know, I go back here and I'm fucking jet lagged. You're, you know, fucking half useless for a while, right? So I'm just trying to find out what the hell is actually going on with this, and it's all just can't tell you. And eventually, I give them an ultimatum of, okay, if you won't tell me, I won't go. And then they're like, sorry, we can't tell you. I'm like, okay, I won't go then. And it's like, sure, I mean, I don't really give a shit that maybe they spent some money in their corporate car, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, you are clearly trying to use me as an asset, but you know, you won't take me out to dinner first. Just be fucking decent to work with. Understand, like, I actually am not a slabbering fan. Maybe that's what you want me to be, but I actually am an adult with responsibilities and a real life and logistics and things to work out. And actually, for me, going to the campus is not so that I can, you know, get down and start sucking off the orc statue because I love the company so much. For me, it's actually a business trip for content, and for someone like you know, like him as well. Like, yeah, does he want to make an utter fucking tit out of himself, or is, you know, the thing he wants, recording Ash content at BlizzCon, getting the scoop in the new hero? Like, that's what a member of the press fucking wants. You know, wanting an interview with Jeff, like that's what they want. So it was just this really whole bizarre thing where you know, in that sort of time, it's like they were just completely clueless as to basically the people that they're working with. You know, basically treating us like, you know, okay, so I'm just going to massively inconvenience myself for something that's got a very low chance of actually being whatsoever relevant. And of course, time proved I was very correct not to go on that trip. So that was just one of those annoying things where I was like sort of semi being led on as I'm going through the NDAs. Oh, we'll tell you more after the NDA and all this. Do you know what the fucking funniest thing is? And I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to, well, I mean, obviously, but I ended up getting in contact with somebody from the other side on Team USA, and that person said, oh, lol. I mean, I would have told you everything you wanted to know, and actually provided me with before the thing happened. It was like, oh yeah, this is all the stuff. You know, I'm sorry this happened. And, you know, the EU team, you know, I got a threat of, you know, this will impact our future relationship. And you know what Team USA said? Oh, no, lol, you're grand. And all this stuff where it's like, man, what is... And then there was the whole video series we did for them as well, where, you know, there was just levels of control there. Like, those are not very good videos. And a lot of the reason why is the insane background of those videos where... Oh, yeah, I mean, just the background of those videos, it was quite tricky. You know, there was... Basically, everyone was given, not the same script, but the same very, like, sort of detailed outline. And everything had to be, you know, to the note, exactly. But in a way that, because here's the thing, you're enlisting me to do a guide for your game.
Yeah.
That's like our bread and butter. We will be able to do this better than you, because that's literally our specialization.
Yeah. It's the equivalent of, I guess, for our food analogy for the day, it is the equivalent of going into a restaurant and be like, no, chef, here are the instructions on how to cook my meal, please. Or like, fucking do it yourself then.
Yeah,
what so
it's like even that was kind of annoying, but at the time I was like, oh, whatever. It's just a big company. Yeah. Everyone knows that big companies are basically useless lumbering zombies.
Widespread corporate dysfunction. We should get like that on a sign for behind you or something.
The other time that I actually did go to Irvine, Like, you know, again, was kind of frustrating. I mean, I guess I have a thing where I think about things content first, and I want it to be a good experience for people. Yeah. The way that Blizzard orchestrates their interviews means it's impossible to get good quality footage. You ever wondered why almost every Blizzard interview has got fucking just completely awful sound quality on a fucking phone camera? It's because no accommodations are made for the person doing the interview, often bearing in mind that it's going to be a video outlet.
Yeah.
There's no accommodations for camera setup, for any of the things that you're going to have to do to actually produce a good bit of content and make it worthwhile. So there is no accommodations for that. And that's just clearly the company's not thinking in those terms. And even that's really funny because obviously think about the general audio and video quality of Blizzard's own produced streams for World of Warcraft. For the longest time, they were really pretty shitty. And then, like, that was kind of frustrating. And then it turned out it wasn't, like, because it was there for, like, the Battle for Azeroth, like, release date reveal and everything. And, like, you know, the Blizz people that I was with there, we were all lovely, by the way. It's just, as we previously said, widespread corporate dysfunction. Because it turned out we were all in some sort of 2-day program where it involved me going to Overwatch and going to the Overwatch League, having to sit through a bunch of Overwatch League games. And again, everyone, I have to remind you here, I wouldn't normally go to the Overwatch League. I don't give a fuck about competitive Overwatch. Now, they were treating it like, oh my god, you know, it's fucking God's gift that you're going to get to see the Owl live. Wow, I'm like, man, I don't give a shit. And actually, almost the people on our, like, tour group, who were all Warcraft people, were all just like, we actually, you know the way we were at your campus yesterday, Blizzard? And you know the way we have an embargo? Well, we would actually like to have our content made in time for the embargo, but you've just, in all of the time that we're supposed to be working to your fucking embargo, you've decided to take us to fucking Burbank to go and watch the Overwatch League. And it's like, so me and Thomas, we were both like, hey, dude, are you enjoying this Overwatch thing? Do you give a shit? And he's like, no. We're like, okay. Want to go get Taco Bell and go back and do our work? So me and him we get a Taco Bell, we go do our work so that our work is done, so that there can actually be content.
Before you continue, because you have a red dot. You have stuff from the...
Oh, I have a Santa dot?
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Oh, no, that's still there.
Hang on. This is what the selfie camera was made for.
Yeah. Oh, no, our continuity for this...
Oh, no. You know, oh yeah, I see it there. And then, I mean, the thing is, like, obviously for Stylosa, you know, if you forced him through a whole bunch of WoW Arena, I have no idea if he's ever played WoW or anything, but you know, if you forced him through that when ostensibly he's there to do Overwatch content coverage, and he's like, hello, I would actually like to set up my microphone in the hotel and go and, you know, talk about this Overwatch thing. Why am I here watching WoW Arena in Burbank?
Yeah.
Because actually, on that thing where I went to the Overwatch League, he was there. He was there on the bus, and that was when, you know, Overwatch was really, really, really big. Yeah. So, you know, he was like kind of like the hot shit of the situation, right? Because I mean, at that time, the Overwatch channels, Stylosa, your man Force, and your Overwatch, they were just fucking pumping.
Big.
They were big, and now, well, Overwatch obviously is contracted, unfortunately. So you know, it's a funny old situation, but you know, a lot of this, it's like, it's not the community manager's fault at all. It's just the way that it's just the done thing is not conducive to the end result. You know, and I suppose that's just it. There's even some slight frustrations, like the way they booked some of my planes were like really, really tight. I remember it was the connecting flight from it was the one from Heathrow to Belfast. It's a little tricky. By the way, fuck Heathrow. Big airport, too big for human. Too big, I know want. Bye bye.
Yep. Imagine one of the big American ones. I couldn't cope. Like,
I had a really funny thing. It was in LAX actually. It was in that very trip. This like super racist TSA agent was just complaining to people about, a certain set of immutable characteristics as we were going through the airport. Like, oh,
Yes.
this is a bit sus. This is a bit,
Sweet.
this is a bit weird. But man, LAX is horrible. I now know what it's like whenever Americans complain about LAX.
Yeah.
Do not like LAX. So that's some of what was going on. It was for most of it, from my experience, it was just company policy led to there being so little agility that nothing could be done properly or good. And obviously, coming from more of a startup-y DNA, we are going to be leaning way more and being flexible and that sort of thing.
Widespread
And
corporate dysfunction.
just a mixture of that, and then just people perhaps just not knowing what they don't know.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the problems you run into whenever you start to have PR agencies that are PR agencies for traditional companies. Like, obviously, you see a lot of the executive wing of Activision Blizzard are executives as opposed to gaming executives, first and foremost. And then they run into a problem of, this industry is not like the rest. It's especially at that time where the rule book on how to handle influencers isn't actually new. Or sorry, it hasn't been written yet. Rather, it is new. So if it's not been written yet, then they don't know what to do. They're like, oh, I guess they're just fan sites, I guess. So they will love the opportunity to watch some Overwatch live.
That's how
and
it felt.
they probably fully believe that. 100% believe that. But, there's rarely an avenue for you to reply and go, why in the fuck am I doing any of this? Would you send your employee to watch this? No, then don't send me. Let me do my job, please. Thank you.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it was, right, that it was directly against their own goal, because surely what they would have wanted is me making content efficiently so that come their embargo, there's loads of content. Just the minutia of it. Like,
Yeah, they didn't think about that.
I set up my cameras and all of that stuff in the first hotel, obviously knowing that I'd have to move hotels when we went down to Burbank. But it's like, if I'm here to make WoW content, like, I don't want to be in this fucking tour group.
Yeah.
Let me set up my camera and my microphone in this hotel so I can make content for you. Just generally corporate dysfunction.
Yep.
That's how it is. And I don't think anybody particularly intended it. It's just the sum total of all of the inputs was not the desired output, really.
Yep. Unfortunate. Good to see they're apparently changing, though, as Stylos said. What was the actual quote? Yeah, it was for the first time they've started to speak to us without all the bullshit PR doublespeak. So hopefully that means that the development teams have been put in charge of that a little bit more and are allowed more freedom, as opposed to, sorry, the game director doesn't get to choose who he speaks to. That's PR to choose to. You're like, sorry?
And if you look at some of those like game director and executive producer job roles, they do talk about the community knowing what's going on. So that just shows like Stylosa and Jeff, people who wanted to talk to each other, were like, PR thought we can't let this happen. Same thing happened to Preach and Ian. Preach and Ian, they had no issue talking to each other. PR seemingly did. Now, I would also say, in fairness, PR are definitely right to be wary of what those conversations can do.
Yes, of course.
But in principle...
Yeah, in principle.
Yes, that's PR. Well, that's PR not being marketing, actually, because if you're there for marketing, then you're like, okay, let's maximally use all these resources. But if you're there for public relations, well, maybe you're going to take it with a different lens.
Yeah, let's try to get these boys all happy with what they've given. Book them a massage in the hotel. That sort of. It's a good experience, great holiday. You'll rate us highly on. You wouldn't rate Blizzard on TripAdvisor anyway, but
Yeah, and now the other side of it, and look, I think this is actually good.
Yep.
Now, all under NDA, but a bunch of key Overwatch people have basically been told a bunch about 2022 for Overwatch.
I believe one of them so much as said they know everything about Overwatch 2 and can't say a word.
Yep. I think that actually that's it's risky, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where creators in the WoW space, we would basically beg to be so NDA'd we cannot talk about a single thing, because all we really want is, well, what has happened here with Overwatch.
Yeah.
We actually, there's times where it's like, okay, is this Because if Blizzard invites you to a media event, you're obviously there as media for work. Blizzard also want an output.
Yeah.
But if it's something where it's NDA'd as fuck so that everybody's protected, and then it's actually something other than that, I mean, I think just about everyone in the space would be willing to put in a whole bunch of their own time for free. Yeah. Absolutely. That's the sort of thing that, you know, many people really would have wanted. So it's nice to see the Overwatch team do it.
Yeah, I mean, here's actually one thing to think of in that sense is like if we were to learn tomorrow what they were doing for the next expansion and we weren't allowed to tell a soul, the sheer amount of value that comes from that in terms of our own planning is fucking massive.
Well, there would be a very large business upside for us.
Yeah,
that's true.
So I imagine the same for all these people.
I imagine like they probably want to secure having these people around.
Yeah.
But maybe there's a bit more that's going on. Maybe it's that they want these people to know some certain things so that they can think about future announcements / information / lack of information with a more correct context. But whatever it is, it's probably pretty savvy public relations.
Well, I mean, honestly, generally speaking, the fact that I have seen people talk about Overwatch in the vein of, you know, like Samito FPS saying, I can't wait to see this game back where it belongs in this industry at the top. You're like,
yeah, pretty big.
I don't know. Like, I don't know how many lobster buffets they must have fed them all to get that. Because for balance, I did include a couple of counterpoint tweets, which include people saying, maybe a hot take, but I find it very cringe that the devs can't give us a public roadmap of what's happening, and instead we get secondhand hopium from streamers. You know, do they deserve to know more because they're streamers? That's obviously like a fair sort of counterpoint as well as, you know.
Yeah, is a streamer a public player or is a streamer media? Ultimately, they're both.
Yeah, that's the problem. And then the other counterpoint where people are just going, oh yeah, they're just shills. Which is, if it was a couple isolated cases, I could imagine, but the overall sentiment has been very, very strong. So,
well, I get how it could be the thing that Red Letter Media would take the piss out of, like,
nerd Korea.
I just went to the exclusive premiere, and I have to say, this movie was daring in its scope and subtle in its details. Yeah. I'm so important! Yeah! I am Collider Media! I think they're one of the generic, here are franchises you know, and we have a million things for every one of them, people.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
It broke new ground. Exactly.
Oh, man. So there's that. Okay.
Yeah, so Overwatch 2 is apparently really going to be good. So, that's what you hear from the people. Let's see if they're true.
I'd be happy with that.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah, good game's good.
Good, everyone can...
Overwatch was, in fact, a very good game.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget that, and, Blizzard being a bit generally...
destroyed me, like...
Yeah, Overwatch, good game. Really good game.
Yeah. I genuinely forget, and I did spend literally weeks grinding ranked, like...
Yeah.
It just, that was just a part of my life that I can't get back. Yeah. But I enjoyed it.
It's a great game.
Yeah, it's fun.
So, it would be good if it was, properly cared for.